War es Jigoku oder Kazuma? War es möglich oder nicht möglich, dass es Kazuma war? Ich kann mir beides gut vorstellen. Beides wäre ein großartiger Twist, so. Auch ein guter Twist fürs Finale, würde ich sagen. Aber ich glaube, beziehungsweise ich gebe Kazuma nochmal als unser Freund den Benefit of a Doubt und sag, es ist unmöglich. Ich hoffe, es ist richtig. Wenn nicht, dann kriegen wir was abgezogen. Judge Goku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claimed that logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is, no question. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Azori to commit the crime. Die Musik wieder. What? The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that allegedly demonstrates the impossibility of Prosecutor Azori's involvement? Was wird denn gesagt? Mit bei Prosecutor Azori ist. Okay. Prosecution counsel has already admitted within the witness cabin in the night of question. Words straight out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. Stop due to this. It was you, Kazuma Asogi. Counsel deny it if it Unity and moreover, it already accepted the mission to take the inspector's life. It's found in Judge's Goku's cabin. Hat das damit irgendwas zu tun?
Take that!
This itinerary for crew members of the SS Grouse, my lord. This is conclusive proof. Okay, scheinbar schon. An itinerary, how does it prove anything? Judge Goku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant. Okay. What? Why? On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside the cabin. Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was elsewhere. And that narrows it down to the 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock as indicated on the itinerary. Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is this: when the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from the port of Dunkirk. Ah! Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at the time. But Prosecutor Asogi stated in yesterday's proceedings, I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Greg's and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following month. Ich werde gar nicht mehr drauf gekommen, das ist total vergessen schon wieder. Aber stimmt. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof. That Kazuma Asogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing. Ja! Es sei denn, er hat gelogen. No, absolutely not. I don't accept that at all. What do you mean? The boy's just saying that to exonerate himself. We can't trust that you really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting for his chance to come. No, that's out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. Stimmt. All extremely easy to verify, and undeniable proof. Ah, no! There's no escape this time. You can't forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer, as a common man. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Ich glaub, das war's aber noch nicht. Then you dumped the body in the room on Fresno Street and made it look as if a murder had happened there. Ich glaub, das war's noch nicht. Das war's absolut noch nicht. That's what really happened, isn't it? Seishiro Jigoku. It was a damn trial 10 years ago. That's when all this began. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. Ah! Oh nein, nicht schon wieder. It's over! My life is over! A British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain. The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand. And for that you decided to recruit Mr. Azogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain. And you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement. Because I was already on my way to Britain at that time in Kazuma's place. And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself. Personally. Okay. Dispatch and that's okay. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume. That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival in Britain. So I enlisted the help of my British counterpart. And made arrangements for a pretext that would take the inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper. What? The Reaper? Okay. But there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Ah! So that means that the assassin exchange was... It was all planned by the Reaper? Warte. Der Assassin Exchange wurde vom Reaper geplant. Ich habe eine Vermutung, wer der Reaper sein könnte. Aber eine ganz große Vermutung. I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship. But it was all a trap designed to lead him to France, to his own death. Oh, how awful. It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, So I bided my time waiting. For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came round and went for me in a reckless move. I'd received the British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that. So the revolver belongs to you, does it? Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Grouse, which begs the question of why you arranged for his body to be discovered in the room of Fresno Street. The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take the body up on deck to throw it over the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. So before the first class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse for the refrigeration room. And then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced when the body was found in London. In that case, you must have known. You must have had intimate details of Inspector Gregson's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due at Fresno Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet a man by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take back his police identification. Ah! I decided that man would be the perfect person to set up as a culprit. So I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk. That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel then. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming comment here. I was more than a little nervous. On Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived of the candle trick there and then. So I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate the gunshot. What sort of disguise? For some reason, the inspector had a bright red hairpiece in his own traveling case. So I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself in that than I would have otherwise. The hairpiece we found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the Red Hat League investigation. I only arrived at the room at around 4:45, so I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board and set up my little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off for the bank about around 15 minutes later, so that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, would walk straight into a trap. Except, at the last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that? I imagine it was a bag of fish and chips. Ah! I didn't notice that it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his... I didn't notice. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but... well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. Well. Anyway, that's everything. All the solid details of what I did. Das finde ich sehr interessant, dass sie einen Richter hier als Culprit haben. Und der Witness Stand ist weg. Der Zeugenstand. I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty. Todesstrafe. An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Ich habe eine Vermutung. Ich habe eine Vermutung, dass es dieselbe Person, der Reaper ist. Nothing you say now can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us. Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say. Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished. Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. Seishiro Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty. And may I remind all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this closed court. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt. Aber da muss noch was kommen. Da muss noch was kommen. Oh, wonderful. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, thank you. Is something wrong? I'm just a little troubled by a silence. The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey, and this extraordinary assassin exchange. We do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor. As you wish. Now, for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant Baroque van Zieks.
Objection!
Sholmes! Nein. Kazuma. Ich dachte, das wäre die Stimme von Sholmes, aber es ist Kazuma. The prosecution calls for adjudication to be deferred. Counsel. The accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all. And therefore, it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is in the prosecution's unwavering position. What? But Judge Jigoku has already confessed. Nevertheless, Baroque van Zieks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Als Reaper oder was? Well, it would appear you have information that the court needs to re-prosecute Asogi. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot. Into the sick, merciless assassin exchange. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is, who cursed Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly, that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Baroque van Zieks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? Order. The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery council. Are you suggesting you have some new information with which to build the case? Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord van Zieks very thoroughly in that regard, and they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper. Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitely the man's identity. Was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself. So there's the prosecution's intention here. I must say I'm surprised by quite how tenaciously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of an unforgivable crime, Lord van Zieks, and I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. That explains Kazuma's silence before. He stopped at nothing to finish what Lord van Zieks unwittingly started 10 years ago. Very well. Wills is extremely irregular. I will on this occasion grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he has had with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. I hereby declare this court to be in session for a supplementary hearing. Pray, turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verify that this violent, unremitting accusation hasn't seared the contents of my hallowed chalice. Lord van Zieks! I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now, and ever since that time I've endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now, and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. Then let justice decide, Lord van Zieks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. And what says the defense? Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. And Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment. He's not thinking logically. You're right that he's not himself. But I knew it would be like this. And I came here today determined to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer, and as his friend. Since that's what he must do. The defense has no objection, my lord. Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand, and give formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper, and the assassin exchange. Oops. As you wish, my lord. Okay. Ich finde das ziemlich interessant, dass das Spiel uns hat glauben lassen, oder mich zumindest hat glauben lassen, dass Kazuma tatsächlich Professor, wie soll ich immer Professor? Inspektor Gregson hätte umbringen können. Aber tatsächlich war es der Richter. Finde ich einen ebenso guten Twist eigentlich, dass wir mal einen Richter als Mord haben und dann noch einen, den wir von Anfang an quasi kennen, den wir eigentlich als gute Person eingeschätzt haben, eben weil er ein Richter ist. Aber er will genau das nicht. Das finde ich sehr spannend, sehr interessant. Ja, aber jetzt hören wir erstmal Van Zieks Aussage zu The Reaper and the Assassin Exchange.